This interview is with Mrs. Erin Britton of Oklahoma City. Conducting the interview for the Oklahoma Historical Society is Rodger Harris, and today's date is March 4, 1991, and the location of the interview is at Ms. Britton's home. Ms. Britton, where were you born?
In Brinkman, Oklahoma, which does not exist anymore.
What part of the state is Brinkman?
It's in Greer County.
I see. And where was Mr. Britton born?
In Elk City.
I see. Now, how did you two come together?
I moved to this little town where he was raised.
I see.
And we met there when I was a junior in high school.
And that was Elk City?
Carter, Oklahoma.
Carter.
Small community. Where we both went to high school. Graduated.
Now, where did Mr. Britton get his electronics training?
From the Wallace Radio Institute, which was in Oklahoma City. And that was in 1934.
That was a tuition kind of process?
Yes.
Just a little...
Just strictly radio institute.
And then he spent time at what radio station after he left there?
Well, he never was at a radio station. He had his own repair shop, radio repair shop in Hobart, Oklahoma.
And was that a fairly successful little business?
Oh, very, because it was during the Depression and people were having their radios repaired when they couldn't afford anything else. And then he also sold radios.
A lot of business with the rural folks as
yes.
well? Battery-operated radios?
Battery-operated car radios. That's when they were very popular.
And then how did he come to get from Hobart to Oklahoma City and end up with WKY?
He went from Hobart to Denison, Texas, the manager of the store in Hobart. Moved to Denison, Texas, and he asked him to go with him, and he did. From there, his brother was killed in Pearl Harbor, so he enlisted at that time. He went to Corpus Christi, Texas, on Ward Island, and there Mr. Sudd was his commanding officer. And after the war, Mr. Sudd wrote him and asked him to come to Oklahoma City to work and help install and operate the TV station. So we moved to Oklahoma City in 1948.
So he worked in the radio station, but not on the radio station. Is that correct?
When he first arrived in Oklahoma City, TV equipment was not here yet. So he went down to the radio station for about 2 or 3 weeks until the equipment came in to work installing the equipment, TV equipment.
Now, had P.A. Stug indicated to Mr. Britton that he was interested in hiring him before he left the service?
No, it was all very much surprise when he heard from him, asking him to come to work.
And that was he also working on the radar project down there at Ward Island, or do you recall?
He taught radar. That's when it first came into existence. He graduated one day and was made an instructor the next day, so he taught radar all during the war.
Now, did he go through the Texas A&M school?
Yes, not Texas, in Oklahoma, in Stillwater.
They had a school there as well?
He had 3 months, 60 hours in 3 months' time, and you had to either make it or be shipped out.
I see.
So
he got a new job occupation if he didn't make it then, is that what you're...
They sent him, well, it was strictly servicemen.
Right.
They sent them to other departments.
I see.
And he was sent to Corpus Christi, where the school had just opened.
Now, did he spend most of the war years there?
Yes, he spent all the war years there teaching radar.
Did he talk about the concern about security and that sort of thing?
They were not allowed to do very much talking. Of course, we all knew that we could be under alert at any time, but
sure.
We felt pretty safe there.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember him commenting about SUG at that time in terms of the leadership at the...
Oh, he thought a lot of Mr. Sugg.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was a great fellow, a brilliant man. He always admired him.
Now, when he first began work at WKY, just before they received the equipment, was he studying and preparing to assemble and put the equipment together and so forth?
I don't remember of him doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps after he came in, instruction books probably arrived with the equipment.
Mm-hmm. Do you recollect any days when he was discussing how he was learning to use the equipment?
No, he enjoyed, and it was quite a challenge, and he really did enjoy working and installing and operating.
Uh-huh. Now, when they finally did go on the air, what was his job? Now, that was at the Civic Center downtown.
Yes.
What was his job then as they were on the air?
Well, he was the engineer in the engineering department.
I see. And then they eventually moved out to the new facilities out on Britton Road.
Yes.
And do you recall him talking about the construction of the building? Anything particular that interested him?
I don't really remember him discussing, the building. All the phase of it was very interesting to him.
Mm-hmm.
But he liked being at the controls,
Mm-hmm.
getting good pictures, good quality pictures.
Did he seem to kind of take to the video part very quickly? And
Well, yes, very quickly.
yeah. In interviewing Willard Hines, he had indicated the same thing, that he thought he might, I'm talking about Mr. Britton, that he thought he might have had a particular knack for the video.
He didn't care very much for working with audio. He wanted video. His baby.
Yeah. Suppose that was the newness of it, or did you think he just had that kind of was oriented towards seeing that thing?
I think he'd always been interested in taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
That was his hobby, and I think the pictures, getting good quality and all that was very interesting to him, and he worked very hard at it.
Mm-hmm. Now, to back up a little bit, now when he came back from Corpus Christi out of the Navy, you were living where?
When he came back?
Yes.
We went back to Denison, Texas for a short time, and that wasn't satisfactory. So we went to the farm for 1 year, and that's when we were on the farm. His parents owned the farm at Carter,
Mm-hmm.
and we were there helping out. When just about the time we were trying to decide to make a decision on making another move, he received this letter from Mr. Sugg, asking him to come.
So the letter was a surprise. Then.
Oh, definitely. Definitely a surprise.
Had he heard from Sugg?
No.
No.
Hadn't heard it. That was the first thing. And then he came up here, of course, was interviewed by Mr. Love. Jack Love.
Uh-huh. Was he pleased, you think? Did that seem like a big challenge to him?
A big challenge. And he was very anxious to come, because that was definitely his line of work.
Yes. Uh-huh.
He had been interested in radio since he was quite small. So he built a crystal set when he was just, in his early teens.
So had he worked with television prior in any sort of experiment that you know of?
No. We went to Fort Worth to an exhibit, and he, was very interested, but no, he had never worked
Now, what exhibit was that? Can you recall? Was that at a museum, perhaps?
I can't remember whether it was a state fair or the Centennial. Could have been the Centennial. I just don't remember.
Okay. So, but in essence, he didn't really have any time to do anything other than observe something, probably, if he did that.
Right. That's
yeah. Do you remember him talking about concerns about getting on the air in the very earliest days when they were when the newspaper said they're going on the air and the boss did too, and they weren't quite sure? Is that?
I think when they had the fire, that was a setback.
Yes.
Because they were on the air a few hours with the test pattern, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long before they actually went on the air. So we sat at home and watched the test pattern on the TV set.
Now, I did want to ask you that. All through his career, and I suppose you were kind of keeping up, whether you wanted to or not, I'm sure you wanted to, but with the developments in local TV and national TV. Was Mr. Britton a TV watcher at home?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Do you think he enjoyed it, or was he kind of trying to analyze it?
I think he enjoyed it.
Well, that may have given him a special kind of insight then, don't you think?
I think so. He enjoyed it, and then he was always calling me and asked me to turn on the station to see if his cameras matched, how they looked, you know, going out over the air.
Really? And that, you're talking about when they switch from one camera to another to make sure the color is similar enough that you don't notice.
Right.
And then as color came on, he was made color coordinator?
Yes. He went to New York for 6 weeks and studied at NBC. I think that letter there, you could tell him, you know, about the setup and all.
Did he feel that was beneficial?
Going to New York?
Yes.
Yes, I think so, because makeup, you know, that had a big part in it.
Yes. And set design and that sort of thing.
Colors.
Now, who else went with him? Was he the only one?
He was the only one.
Only one. Now, what kinds of things did he do as a color coordinator other than make sure everything matched and was...
Well, he worked at the controls. I guess scheduling.
Now, was there someone else that did the maintain the controls when he wasn't there?
Oh yes. All of the fellows could work as controls. All the engineers, which you could usually tell. Rather, I could tell. I could tell who was at the controls by the pictures.
Now, I know at one time WKY had a studio all set up for surgery.
Yes.
For closed circuit for the medical school and for conventions. Did he participate in that?
Yes.
Did he have any comments about that?
No, he didn't. Also, the lines, I-bank came into existence, you know, about that time. And they had a TV set up on that and did a little skit showing how they rushed the eyes to the doctors.
As I recall, one broadcast at least, if not many, was in color, and I would assume he would have been in charge of that surgery broadcast.
The cameramen were the ones that were right over.
Right.
He was at the controls, which was not, as a cameraman, but the cameramen were the ones that really saw it all.
Was it kind of an adjustment for them to...
I imagine it was.
I would think so. I would think so. Well, that was quite successful, though.
Yes, and it was interesting, too. Very.
Did he talk about that going on elsewhere in the country to his...
I don't know whether it was even thought of in other parts of the country at that time. I think they were the first in so many things.
Now, how would you describe his, Mr. Britton's attitude about television programming? Now, I'm not talking about the schedule, but the kinds of programs that were on TV. Was he fairly supportive of that, or did he have some exceptions in his mind about what kinds of things ought to be?
Well, of course, when they first went on the air, they had a preference of the three main
Networks,
yes. So I think he was pretty well pleased with the type of shows that they chose.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they had the wrestling matches or whatever Friday night.
Yes.
And he was on that. I think he was pretty well pleased with the program in general.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I know as we've looked at your scrapbook that he maintained, do you think he had a consciousness that this was a pioneering effort? I know he knew it was the first thing, but did he have the sense that perhaps they were having to make their own rules, solve their own problems?
I think he was aware of that, yes. He read a lot. He studied a lot. And he knew so much about different phases of the TV.
Now, he continued to work at WKY from 48 when he joined until, what year did he leave?
76.
So the station had changed ownership by then, is that?
Yes, just a few months before he retired, it changed ownership.
How did he feel about that?
You will really want me to say?
Well, I gather that he was unhappy about that.
He wasn't too well pleased with it. That might have helped the idea of retiring at an early age. He retired at 62.
Well, quite a number of the personnel left, did they not?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And did he express regret in the whole scheme of things there that had developed? The fact that the station had to go to solve the problem that the owners had?
He was just very unhappy about the whole situation. In fact, he never went back to the station after he retired.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell anyone, but very few, that he was retiring. We left on vacation and just didn't come back. And then after we were gone, that's when Mr. Bushnell told him that he was retiring. They usually have a party for the ones that retire, and give them a gift. He wanted no part of that. They brought his gift to him at the house.
I see. What was that? Was he sort of disillusioned with it, do you feel?
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. That was a pretty unusual team of people that Sugg had organized.
Yes.
And that might be exactly the description. They seem to be very confident, all of them. And so that might be easy to understand in that perspective. So. Well, now, after he was retired, did he periodically talk about television as it continued to evolve, or?
He didn't talk about it. He had dreams about different things, but as I say, he never went back. We moved to Elk City at that time to get away from, really get away from it.
I see.
And so we moved to Elk City for 7 years before we moved back up here, and our health got so bad we actually came back
I see.
to Oklahoma.
Was he mostly in retirement then in Elk City, or?
Yes, well, we moved to Elk City after he retired.
But I mean, he didn't start another business or
No,
anything?
no. No, we traveled.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we had a little motor home. We spent the winters in South Padre or in Arizona.
Now, do you recall him speaking of other people at the station? I know we've talked about Sugg and reflected on that, but about Hoyt Andres, for example?
He thought a lot of Hoyt Andres, very much. He was really crushed when he died suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
He thought a lot of Mr. Lovell. Mr. Sugg and Mr. Andres knew the station and every department and all about it. They knew every face off TV. And they treated their men as human beings, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I'm sure.
And he respected him very much.
A lot of trust, you think?
Yes, a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting, and asking management and news people if the owners of the station ever made suggestions or directives or anything, and their response was pretty much that they did not. They didn't interfere. They seemed to pass along their trust to management, which apparently management must have passed on to everyone else.
Mr. Andres had a program set up. He had chosen his leaders, and they had just taken over when he died. Mm-hmm. And my husband was one of the one that he had chosen. At his death, everything went back to it originally was before his death. So I don't know whether anyone knew what his plans were, what he, or anything.
Was that now when Sugg was leaving, or?
He was gone at that time.
I see.
Did he go to Florida?
Yes, he did. So he did. Or
after he left.
New York, I believe.
Anyway, he left.
He did leave.
He did leave,
Mm-hmm.
and Mr. Andres was the manager.
And then Mr. Andres passed away, and so essentially the station didn't change except...
No, it went back to how it was originally.
Yes, in terms of...
I don't remember who the new management was.
Was that Bagwell at that time?
Seemed like there was one in between,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't even remember his name because he was here a short time.
Well, do you have any other thoughts that might be useful to us in regards to Mr. Britton's career with WKY?
I think his first years with him were very happy years. He enjoyed it very much, all phase of it, and enjoyed working with the men. I don't know of him ever saying anything against any of the men. He loved the young ones that came in and wanted to help them all he could. And I think he did, from the remarks they made to me at his memorial services. Mm-hmm. So many of them recall different things that happened, between Aaron and the boys. Mm-hmm. How he had helped them. And I'm sure his desire was to be able to help the young men.
Would you say that Mr. Britton's commitment to his job was something like that, maybe of a physician or?
Mr. Sugg made the comment one time on his hands, how agile they were. The hands, I think he compared it to maybe a juror's hand.
Mm-hmm.
They were his work, was just so well in soldering and everything.
Mm-hmm.
To
Very
perfection, according to
precise.
Mr. Sugg, yes.
Mm-hmm. But do you think that he approached his job with the dedication of probably the maximum that he could give? Is that a...
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I really think, because that was his whole life, for radio, TV, from a very early age.
Well, we appreciate you cooperating and making this interview with us, and on behalf of the Historical Society, we express our thanks to you.
I'm glad to do it.